So Erny Clan has been hyping up this fuck-ass video on me for a month at this point, and it's finally out. Are you guys ready to see what he's been hyping up so much, even making a whole trailer for it? Because let's just say, it's not even close to worth the hype. This is a video that gets progressively worse as it continues. Like, its points just get worse and worse and worse. They don't start out particularly good, don't get me wrong, however, the points go from kind of stupid to genuinely disgusting. So, yeah, just a warning, it's going to seem like a pretty tame video at first, but it gets so much worse as it continues. This video really pissed me off, and you'll definitely be able to tell that in the script. However, I think that this person deserves every second of it for not using their fucking brain while making this video. So, without further ado, let's begin. This text is like barely readable with the background, but trust me, this is not the worst example of this in the slightest. Just wait. When I said this video gets worse, I of course mean its arguments, but I also mean how fucking readable the text is. That's how shitty this video is. The text readability literally degrades. Because he disagrees with you over drama regarding another child. Get a job. This image shows up multiple times in the video, and I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to point out that this guy is assumably an anti-furry. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with this video since I'm not a furry, but whatever. I would also like to point out that despite seemingly being an anti-furry, his character is an anthropomorphic parrot. Need I further explain? Job.
This video may contain subjects not suited for vulnerable individuals. If you are sensitive, I recommend to click off.
Oh yes, it contains sensitive subjects. Which sensitive subjects? Who fucking knows? Just guess, I guess. Also, this text is even more unreadable, for God's sake. It's low Kirkenuanly, not low-key Kirkly. What the fuck? Remember guys, he spent a fucking month on this.
Now yes guys, I am sorry for being gone for months. Life decided to get its little grubby little hands on me and now suddenly I'm inside a new house, so yeah. But to actually get to the point of the video, who is Mushroom Girl? Now from the information I could gather from Mushroom Girl's channel, she's relatively a commentary YouTuber.
I'm relatively a commentary YouTuber? Relative to what? I'm either a commentator or I'm not. I know you meant that I'm not exclusively a commentator, but again, you spent a fucking month on a 10-minute video and you can't even word yourself correctly.
That also does animations. It's around 50-50 from what I could get with slightly more commentary videos. Now, am I going to go on a schizo rant about how commentary YouTubers caused 9/11 and how there's a voice in my head telling me to kill everybody? No, of course not. Only a schizo would do that.
Was that supposed to, like, have a punchline? Seriously, I don't get the joke here. You say, I could say this very specific thing, but only schizos would say that. Like, what's the punchline?
But being serious here, a lot of commentary YouTubers are awful. They usually don't include that much editing at all, and it's just made to be slop. And Mushroom Girl is no exception to this at all. And I I mean, for an artist, you would suspect them to put a little bit more effort into their videos, especially knowing they literally draw art.
As opposed to drawing things that aren't art. Anyway, this point doesn't make sense considering digital art and video editing are extremely different things that require different skill sets.
Now, you don't get that with Mushroom Girl. Most of her videos are incredibly unedited and pretty raw.
You say as you show a screenshot of a 12-minute video.
Now, of course, the things I've said, that doesn't mean you're a terrible YouTuber. You could still have slop content and I would still enjoy it.
Even if it's slop content, I would still enjoy it. Yeah, we can tell, buddy. Anyway, how is unedited long videos slop? When I think of slop, I think of overstimulating or over-edited short-form content. Think Lankybox. Skibbity Toilet. Basically anything about Sprunky. My content has no similarities with these things. Wanna know whose video is more like slop? Yours. It's a decently short video that contains incredibly overstimulating imagery. Hell, in the super overstimulating introduction I cut out, your video contains fucking funk. And I'm not going to act like everything that contains funk in it is slop, but let's be real here, a lot of it is. God, you're projecting so fucking hard with this whole slop thing that it's kind of embarrassing. Even your fucking thumbnail is the PNG equivalent of a fucking landfill. What is this? What human being would click on this unironically?
My main issue with Mushroom Girl's content is not just because it's poorly edited, it's simply because her YouTube videos are so stretched out. Her videos easily go from being 30 minutes to easily an hour or an hour and a half for no reason.
Except there is a reason. Seriously, sit down and actually watch one. Every second of the video has a purpose. I can't say the same about your video, considering your incredibly redundant intro that just has the same phrase flashing on screen over and over again. The same phrase that is reflected in your title, by the way. And saying my videos are long is a way to prove that they're dragged out doesn't work, because a video being long and a video being dragged out are different things. A video that's dragged out is a video with a lot of dead air, repetitiveness, or parts that don't actually add anything to the entertainment or information value of the video. Unless you can prove my video has these aspects using specific examples, you're making an unsubstantiated claim using a term you don't fully understand.
And again, this would be fine, but with these two issues combined, her content is kind of a waste of time if you really think about it.
Why? You aren't actually making an argument, you're just saying shit. You haven't given your audience any reason to believe that my content is dragged out slop. You've just said it is, and then assumed everyone is going to take you at face value.
Literally, you can do anything else, and that would be a much better way to use your time than watch a Mushroom Girl video. I mean, you could literally watch a movie instead of watching a Mushroom Girl video. That's how bad it is.
You could watch a movie instead of doing anything. That's called free will.
And the worst part is that I do want to enjoy her videos. Most of the time she actually gives good criticisms, but her videos are just so bad. It's just unbearable to watch sometimes.
Wait, if I make good points, how are my videos slop? Wouldn't slop commentary content be commentaries with poorly thought out arguments or even no real arguments at all? Hey, kinda like how this video hasn't put the effort to prove anything negative about my content so far, despite the fact that we're almost at the halfway mark.
Sometimes I just don't even watch a video. I just play a video game while listening to a video. That's the only way I can actually consume it.
Which is entirely a skill issue and means you need a higher attention span.
And I'm gonna be real with you, the video literally would have ended here. Just some basic criticism of Mushroom Girl.
What criticism? You've just vaguely called my content slop and dragged out with no elaboration.
But like what I said in the intro, and you know, the title of the video, she's way worse.
You've got to be shitting me. You've got to be fucking joking right now. Yeah, see that? That's supposed to be text. And what's even better is the fact that the text-to-speech voice is basically inaudible. And the one part of the text that you can kind of read says content warning, which I thought we already had a content warning, but are you serious? Making a content warning this illegible? Actual fucking dumbassery at its finest.
Now, the word bigot has been thrown around by a lot of people nowadays, and it's pretty much lost its meaning. But here's the actual definition of it, and I want you to note what I've highlighted here. A person who is intolerant of opinions which conflict with their own, as in politics or morals, which is... how the fuck do you even say that?
Obstinately.
And blindly devoted to their own church, party, belief, or opinion. And this, my friends, perfectly describes Mushroom Girl. And you may be wondering, how have I come to this conclusion? How is she a bigot? Well, this is a quote directly from the horse's mouth, apparently.
We should respect all beliefs. No, we shouldn't. Your belief is stupid and your God is stupid. Shut up. This is horrifically taken out of context. He gives a bit more context later, but not quite enough to give you the full picture. Here is the full uncut clip. My apologies for the post point, but I thought I'd bring up the fact that Mr. Frost has gone full mask off transphobic. Like, when you see the difference between the video I'm currently covering where he's like, oh, I love everyone and blah blah blah, and then this comment under his most recent video, which by the way I will not be covering, it's literally just a fucking church sermon. This comment says, quote, the people I talk about, not just trans people, but any degenerate I talk about on this channel are an abomination and destined for hell if they don't attempt to redeem themselves. This is something he actually said. I think it's adorable how Mr. Frost thinks that he can get away with saying literally whatever the fuck he wants and going complete mask-off bigot as long as he uses his god as an excuse, but the real world doesn't function under fairy tales, so you're still gonna be criticized for it. And it's unfortunate for you that I'm not one of those people who will say, we should respect all beliefs. No, we shouldn't. Your belief is stupid and your God is stupid. Shut up.
And even with no context, saying this to anyone would classify you as a bigot.
No, it wouldn't. I'm not intolerant of Christians like what the definition says. In fact, here's what I say about religion in another video. This is gonna be a huge hot take, but I don't believe that I have to respect your religion. I'll respect you as a person if you have not maliciously harmed anyone, but I do not respect Christianity. I do not respect Islam. I do not respect Judaism. I don't respect the religion. I respect Jewish people. I respect Muslim people. I respect Christian people, given those individuals have not harmed anyone. Obviously, it depends on the person, but just the group itself, yeah, I respect them because they're human beings. They're human beings who deserve rights, they deserve respect, and they deserve to be able to practice their religions. But I don't respect the books. I don't respect the religions. I think the religions are stupid, and I do not believe they are above criticism despite what a lot of people may say. I wasn't trying to argue against the rights of Christians. I wasn't trying to paint all Christians as bad people. I was simply expressing the opinion that I believe that Christianity is stupid in a blunt manner in response to someone who was using Christianity as an excuse to be a bigot. Me not respecting religion isn't bigoted as long as I don't discriminate against people for being religious, which I don't do. If you believe that me thinking his views of religion are stupid is bigotry, then you're also being a bigot by believing that my views on religion are stupid. If bigotry is simply harshly disagreeing with people's views, then this entire video is bigoted, dumbass.
You're straight up just calling someone's belief stupid. And you know what the funniest part is? She's also a hypocrite. in pretty much the same part. She literally calls Mr. Frost a bigot in the same part. I'm not even joking.
I think it's adorable how Mr. Frost thinks that he can get away with saying literally whatever the fuck he wants and going complete mask off bigot as long as he uses his god as an excuse.
And I find it really cute, Mushroom Girl, that you go full mask off bigot just because someone else is a bigot.
And I think it's really cute how you're trying to act like somebody saying that all trans people should literally be tortured for all eternity is basically the same as saying that a religion is kind of stupid.
But don't worry, guys, she clarifies she isn't a bigot. She only makes fun of people for being stupid.
Because I'm an asshole, not a bigot. I don't invalidate people for their gender. I invalidate people for their lack of intelligence and lack of critical thinking skills.
But didn't you literally draw gay Muslims in front of a YouTuber named Shark Hunter because he's Muslim?
I'm drawing Muslims because he's Muslim and he's mad.
The reason I was mocking his religious beliefs was because Shark Hunter is homophobic. That's why I said, because he's Muslim and he's mad. He was mad about gay people. So yes, maybe if I went up to a random Muslim on the street and started trying to mock them for no reason, then I'd be a bigot. Because bigotry involves hatred that is irrational. If I, for example, thought all Muslims were pedophiles, I would be a bigot because that is an irrational assumption about an entire group of marginalized people not backed up by evidence. Me mocking one particular Muslim for being homophobic is not bigotry because there is concrete evidence of him being homophobic and using his religion as an excuse. The Salmonella speedrunner and the two-parter I made goes into this pretty well. Hell, you can even infer the fact that he's homophobic from the clip you played, which has him censoring the word gay as if it's something inappropriate. Come on now. And if you have an issue with me drawing lesbian Muslims, is that not bigoted by your own logic since you are showing disgust towards my beliefs about lesbian Muslims? Hell, even by my logic, I would consider that much more bigoted than anything I've ever said or done.
That's literally you mocking Shark Hunter's beliefs. The only way you can realistically defend this is by saying, oh, I believe you can't make fun of trans people, but you can make fun of religious people.
He didn't make fun of trans people. He said that all trans people should be eternally tortured. Are you fucking dense?
But that would be bigotry and hypocrisy because, you know, they're both identities.
Oh, so making fun of an identity is bigoted now? Any identity at all? Alright, so basically, you are not allowed to dislike or make fun of Nazis, white supremacists, fascists, pedophiles, zoophiles, or necrophiles. What? You said disliking identities of any kind were bigotry. All the terms I just listed are, in fact, identities. Not only that, but doesn't you being an anti-furry mean you're a bigot because furry is an identity?
Not only that, you use your one of your own scenes, which is a gay alien that you self-describe as a degenerate, just to make fun of them. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, elephant in the room? I'm using EXE as an avatar. The main reason why I chose to for this particular video is because, well, what better to argue against the anti-degenerate movement than to use a character who is truly within his heart and soul a degenerate? Except him being gay doesn't actually mean anything, and the fact that you assumed that me calling him a degenerate was referencing his sexuality is a bit homophobic in and of itself, but whatever. And I am assuming here that him being gay is supposed to be the point of your argument, because, first of all, why would you mention that he's gay otherwise, and second of all, if the point has nothing to do with his sexuality, then I don't exactly see what your argument is even supposed to be. Like, yes, I used a character that I jokingly called a degenerate in a video about the anti-degenerate movement to make fun of them. What's the point there? If it had something to do with his sexuality, this argument, while being still wrong, would make a lot more sense because Shark Hunter, the leader of the ADM, has expressed that he does not support gay people because of his religion, so by me doing this, I would be being disrespectful to his religion, I guess. Don't get me wrong, I think that's a fucking bullshit, stupid complaint. However, at the very least, I would understand the point you are trying to convey. You could have also made me not have to assume in the first place by elaborating, but fuck me, I guess. And by the way, for the record, EXE isn't technically gay, if only because Martians are a single-sex species that have no need for sexuality or gender classifications, so there's not really a such thing as gay or straight in their culture. It's the same with Neptunians. Obviously, this isn't something I expect Erny to know, but I thought I'd just make a general clarification. While I often call EXE and Phaon gay as a joke, they're much better described as gay-coded, since, well, technically not being a queer relationship, they are obviously a non-literal representation of a queer couple. Anyway, the real reason I called EXE a degenerate in that video is because, well, he's a sexual deviant. It has nothing to do with his sexuality. And you'd know this if you actually did any basic research on the character you're talking about. On my toy house, one of his likes is casual sex, and in his bio it says things like, he has a thirst for violence and can find sex appeal in the most strange activities. And EXE has a very odd way of showing his love, enjoying committing horrifically violent acts towards Phaon, much to Phaon's mutual enjoyment. Phaon's masochistic tendencies balance out EXE's sadistic tendencies well. Like, come on, why is your first assumption gay equals degenerate? That sounds like a fat homophobic skill issue, I don't know.
And oh boy, Mushroom Girl, your case gets even worse. You directly compared donating church money to flushing money down the toilet.
For context, this is a scene in Chapter 3 of my webcomic Souls Meant to Burn, involving the characters Adam and his mother Caroline. Adam asks Caroline if after church they can stop to get a breakfast sandwich from a fast food place. Caroline says no, and when he retorts, Caroline explains that she isn't going to flush money down the toilet while simultaneously putting money in a church donation basket. That's not a direct comparison. A direct comparison would be if Adam responded to that by saying, "But you're giving money to the church," but that's never directly said because the punchline is supposed to be somewhat subtle. It's also, you know, a joke. It's not meant to be taken 100% seriously. You can criticize things that are jokes, don't get me wrong, but it's not a direct comparison by any means.
Genuinely, what the fuck is wrong with you, genuinely?
Well, genuinely, I think it's genuinely stupid to give money to a church that may or may not donate it to charity instead of, you know, just donating to charity yourself. Churches aren't run on God and friendship after all. They take a large cut of the money given to keep running the church. And that's not even mentioning the insane amount of money-related scandals that go on in churches.
Devout believers donating more than $70,000 to a suburban megachurch.
But now, years later, they're demanding a refund, disgusted by what they've learned. 2 investigator Dorothy Tucker has this unholy fight over funds.
You believe that what is being done is impacting the eternity of people.
Their strong Christian belief
Exodus
led Scott Thompson and his wife Marcia to volunteer at Harvest Bible Chapel and over the course of several years donate a lot.
North of $72,000.
Now they want it back.
When you find out that the pastors, you know, living in a $2 million house.
The pastor was James McDonald, fired from the megachurch in February for conduct harmful to the best interests of the church.
You open up the book and you find the article and
But Thompson started questioning the pastor's spending in 2006 when he saw McDonald's home in Inverness featured in Chicago Magazine.
Isn't it true that you want to fly commercial so that you can fly in luxury? How much money did you pay for Tyler Perry's Gulfstream jet, for example?
Well, for example, that's really none of your business, but
Isn't it the business of your donors?
There was a loose toilet in the wall, and we removed the tile. Well, they removed the tile. Went to go remove the toilet, and I moved some insulation away, and about 500 envelopes fell out of the wall.
Envelopes full of cash, checks, and money orders.
I went ahead and contacted the maintenance supervisor that was there, and I went ahead and turned it all in.
The church confirmed the find in a statement, writing, "An undisclosed amount of cash and checks were found," adding they notified police, but Lakewood has no further comment at this time. Houston police wouldn't share how much was recovered, but did state Friday evidence from the recovered checks suggests this November case is connected to a March 9th, 2014 theft report of undisclosed amounts of money at the church.
Yet you're going to look me in the face and tell me that I'm some kind of bigot for mocking church donations. Donate to a damn church if you want. It's not my business where you put your money, but I'm always going to think it's a stupid idea to donate to charity by proxy instead of just donating normally like a normal person, because at the end of the day, a lot of your donation money isn't actually going to the people who need it, especially if you're donating to a megachurch. So yeah, I do view it as basically flushing money down the toilet, and you're totally allowed to disagree with me, but it's not bigotry. It's fine to think that church donations are actually totally worth it, but I disagree, and I'm going to reflect that in my art. It's completely harmless.
Not only that, you've literally used self-harm just to be edgy in your webtoon.
How do you know I did it specifically to be edgy? Because if you actually knew how to fucking read, you probably wouldn't be saying this. Now, this page is from chapter 8, and he conveniently leaves out the context of why Adam is harming himself. Basically, in chapter 8, Logan and Adam get into an argument. In this argument, Logan implies that Adam doesn't have real problems because of his much less neglectful early childhood. Adam storms out and locks himself in the bathroom and then cuts himself. Self-harm is commonly used as a method of emotional regulation. When you mix previous chapters that show Adam's self-harm issues, him being literally 13, and him having an argument with his brother specifically after he got abandoned by his mother and put in a significantly worse situation, no fucking shit he's gonna cut himself. When you take this all into account using basic media literacy skills, it obviously wasn't done to be edgy. I'm sorry you can't handle dark subjects in a dark fantasy comic, but that's a skill issue. There's nothing wrong with portraying themes of self-harm in a comic, especially since it's not even explicitly shown. The censored page he shows is literally just him with bloody bandages and blood on a box cutter. You never actually see his injuries. When Matt shows his self-harm cuts to Adam in chapter 4, it's in an angle where you can't see it. When Adam's cuts are shown earlier in that same chapter, it's covered with a band-aid and the rest of them are healed scars. How is this unreasonably edgy? I don't even think it's necessarily a bad thing to draw characters with fresh self-harm cuts. However, I'm not even doing that.
And in the next chapter, it gets completely ignored and gets covered up by a hoodie.
First of all, it doesn't get completely ignored. In the first panels, it shows him clearly with the bloody bandage that he had last chapter. Dumbass. And even if we ignore that, what, as opposed to Adam sitting down with the guy who was in the last chapter showing a lack of care for his issues, who he just recently met by the way, and talked to him in detail about his cutting problems, as opposed to Adam showing his fresh cuts to the entire fucking world instead of covering them up? Hell, it was shown in chapter 4 that Adam was incredibly shy about showing his scars to his boyfriend, yet you think it's at all in character for him to not cover up his fresh self-harm cuts? Do you think that people with self-harm issues constantly make it known to everyone around them at all times? Have you met someone with past or present self-harm issues? Well, now you have. Hi, I'm MG. I used to harm myself from the ages of roughly 13 to 16. Let's talk about that for a moment if you don't fucking mind. When I harmed myself, it was always in places that weren't going to be easily visible. Why? Because hiding your mental health struggles is insanely fucking common. Adam's character is based on my own experiences, even down to the moment in chapter 8. Adam cuts himself after his feelings were invalidated and his struggles were downplayed, which was literally the same thing that caused me to start harming myself. This is entirely realistic because I went through it, dumbass. So you trying to speak as if I'm not allowed to portray these topics despite the fact that these are things that happen in real fucking life pisses me off.
Not only that, you literally depict these characters doing drugs.
No, I don't. Matt asks Adam if he wants to eat an edible, Adam says no, and then they don't eat edibles. Pay attention to the piece of media you are talking about. Unless you're talking about Matt's cigarette, which, why did you show that panel then? That is obviously going to confuse your audience into thinking you're talking about the edibles.
And the worst part about this is that these characters are around 12 to 13 years old.
Oh yeah, because 13-year-olds never do drugs in real life. That would just be insane to depict in fiction. Just a simple Google search gives me loads of stories involving children with access to drugs. Student 13 arrested after bringing 1,500 fentanyl pills to middle school. Teen staying at relative's house in Spanaway dies in a suspected overdose. 13-year-old Connecticut boy dies after ingesting fentanyl at school. Yet you're shocked that a dark fantasy story depicts two rebellious 13-year-olds with access to fucking weed brownies. Weed brownies! God, you sound stupid. You think 13-year-olds having weed brownies is bad? How about you take a look at the real fucking world where children are dying of fentanyl overdoses?
These characters are literally self-harming and they're around 13.
Because that's also never happened in real life. 13-year-olds can't possibly have mental health issues. This genuinely feels like a spit in the face to anyone who has ever had drug problems or self-harm problems at a young age. You're denying the struggles of real people by passing off any story with these themes as some kind of weird edgelord slop instead of a person trying to tell a genuine story about these problems. Fuck you!
Genuinely, what the fuck, Mushroom Girl? Grown-ass woman, by the way, drawing kids self-harming, by the way.
God, grown-ass woman drawing children self-harming. Grown-ass woman depicting the struggles of mentally ill teenagers. God fucking forbid. Let's just demonize any media showing light on self-harm because it makes me uncomfy. Who cares if it's an actual issue that real people can relate to? Fuck them, I guess. My comfort is the center of the universe.
You should have listened to your own advice and
get a job. Yeah, people who have struggled with self-harm issues at a young age and want to depict their past or present struggles in their art, just get a job. Get a job and pretend like it never fucking happened because it's inconvenient to Mr. Erny Clan over here. And it doesn't matter if you didn't know that Adam is a reflection of my real-life struggles, because it's your fault for assuming that I, just get off to drawing children cutting themselves? Maybe if you didn't make the most tone-deaf video ever, you wouldn't be having this problem, now would you? Ah yes, my favorite subject, SLABE.
Yeah, Mushroom Girl, can you explain why in your content disclaimers of your webtoon, it literally has sexual abuse in it? Yeah, can you explain that to me?
Oh my fucking god, this is kind of adorable that he thinks this is some kind of gotcha moment, but anyway, I absolutely can. So basically the content warning is there because the subject of sexual abuse is going to be a theme in future chapters of the comic. I know, riveting explanation, nobody could have fucking guessed that that's what that means.
Because a lot of the time your webtoon literally shows physical abuse already happening inside the webtoon.
Yeah. And is that a bad thing? The fact that he was physically abused as a child is a pretty important thing about his character. How is this an issue?
And self-harming.
This is something I didn't even mention. I did not draw anyone getting physically abused, nor did I draw anyone self-harming. I simply drew the aftermath of those actions. That is a different thing.
So are you gonna like draw kids getting...
It's strange you jump to that. Yeah, my comic is gonna contain themes of sexual abuse. You're gonna draw children being raped? But to answer your question, no, there will be no explicit depictions of child sexual assault. Do you want there to be? Seems like a very oddly specific assumption to make.
Because if so, you're pretty much a pedophile.
No, because even if I did draw graphic depictions of child sexual abuse, you'd have to prove that I drew it for sexual purposes and not for any other purpose such as shock value, to tell a story in the most blunt and obvious way possible, etc. Now, you can criticize it for being immoral, or in bad taste, or tone deaf, or anything of that nature, but that doesn't make me a pedophile necessarily if I were to do that. Also, about what's on screen, what is concerning? What's concerning is that your mind jumped to graphic child rape when I even muttered the idea that the themes of sexual abuse will be featured in this comic. It doesn't even mention childhood sexual abuse, just sexual abuse. Yet apparently you being a weirdo is my fault somehow and justifies treating me like I'm some kind of disgusting person for something you assume I'm going to do in the future. Do you understand how ridiculous that is?
But seriously though, why is this going to be in the webtoon? It genuinely adds nothing to... It literally adds nothing.
How do you know that? It hasn't fucking happened yet. What are you talking about? Also, yes, it does. I won't be giving any future chapter spoilers, but it quite literally will affect the plot. Dumbass.
Like, I don't understand why this is in the webtoon.
Because the story is a dark, contemporary fantasy. Sexual abuse is a dark topic as well as a modern, aka contemporary, issue. Use basic media literacy skills, fuckwad. I wasn't going to address anything from these comments that he's been leaving on my videos, but I thought I would address one because it's fucking bothering me how stupid this is. So, he has claimed that there was no signs before Chapter 8 that Adam had self-harm problems, right? So I told him to go back to Chapter 4 and fucking read it, and he did so, and he admitted that he had missed a single panel that showed Adam's self-harm scars. Now, normally I would be able to believe that, right? I would just say, oh, he glossed over it like a dumbass, but, you know, we all do that sometimes. And then I remembered what else is in Chapter 4, and I either, 1, think he's a fucking illiterate dumbass, or 2, I think he's lying to me. One of the two. I don't know which one, but it's one of them. Near the beginning of Chapter 4, Matt shows Adam what is assumed to be his self-harm cuts. Then, Matt asks Adam to show him his self-harm cuts. He does not say self-harm cuts, it is simply inferred that that is what is being talked about, especially considering the panel that was shown earlier that he had missed, and Adam says no, right? And even if you missed that panel at the beginning and therefore had no clue what they were talking about, once you get to Chapter 8, where Adam is harming himself, would you not immediately think, oh, so that's what that was talking about back in Chapter 4? Like, you wouldn't immediately get that context even if you had missed the context given in Chapter 4? Like, are we fucking stupid here? Yet this is the guy who wants to claim that Souls Meant to Burn is evil. This is the guy who wants to claim that Souls Meant to Burn has all these disgusting things in it that shouldn't be shown or whatever the fuck. This is the guy who wants to paint me as a shitty person for drawing a fucking comic, yet he refuses to comprehend any aspect of the comic that isn't directly stated in dialogue. And even when it is directly stated in dialogue, like the argument during Chapter 8, he ignores that too because it doesn't fit his narrative that I'm just showing it for shock value. He sees what he wants to see from my comic, not what I actually intended to show, and that is the worst quality somebody reviewing a piece of media can have. That's all I wanted to address, so on to final thoughts. My final thoughts for this video is that I believe the most prevalent issue all throughout the video is the fact that he absolutely fucking refuses to elaborate on what he has to say. Even in the second half of the video, where he's talking about these things which he considers to be very serious things that I have done, he refuses to actually talk about why they're so serious, why they matter. He just says, this person drew this thing, this person drew this thing, and that's it. There's no actual explanation of what makes this harmful, what makes this wrong, what makes it immoral. No, he just declares that it is, in fact, immoral and wrong, and that's it. That's all the explanation you're getting. And of course, there's the insanely tone-deaf arguments that imply that real people's actual fucking struggles are this disgusting, horrible thing that can't even be shown in a piece of fucking media, and anyone who decides to is this disgusting, evil person who's, I don't fucking know, fetishizing it. He didn't explain exactly what he thought the issue was, so I just kind of have to assume based on what he was saying, which wasn't much. And I think it's fucking ridiculous to read a dark fantasy comic and be surprised when the fantasy is dark. And hell, at least my fucking trigger warnings were readable. At least every single chapter I have a readable fucking trigger warning. I can't say the same about your video because your content warnings are literally illegible. So how about you get off my case for the things I choose to create and the ways I choose to express myself when you can't even put a proper fucking trigger warning on a video that's supposed to be some kind of huge hit piece on me because Mushroom Girl true self-harm. That's really all I have to say. Please pick up a fucking book. Let's hope it's not fucking Lolita or something. I think you'd fucking die. Have a great day, and goodbye.